Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Coast News. And as always, we've got some amazing news from different theme parks, rides, attractions and events all over the world. So let's get straight into the news today. Our top story for tonight: vertical construction on Hyperia at Thorpe Park has officially been completed. And this was such an historic day for not just Thorpe Park but for the entire UK theme park industry when vertical construction had finally ended on Hyperia. If you don't know what I'm talking about, basically Hyperia is a brand new for 2024 Mack Rides hypercoaster that is being built at Thorpe Park, located in Chertsey, England, or Surrey. Obviously, it's scheduled to open. It's not going to be open on opening day of the 23rd of March. It's going to be open at some point later on in the season, in sometime spring, like maybe April or May. However, upon opening, it will officially take the record of the tallest and fastest roller coaster in the UK, which is absolutely mental. And obviously recently, literally on Wednesday this week, the final ever track piece for the ride was lifted into place. And the final track piece was the crest of the ride's 236 foot tall lift hill. So obviously, over the past sort of few weeks, they've been building the lift hill and first drop of the ride as sort of the last parts of the actual track layout itself. They've been building the lift hill up slowly but surely. Same with the drop as well over the past sort of few weeks. And then at the start of this week, it came to it was so close to finishing. Like literally, there was the lift hill and then there was the drop, and there was literally only a small gap between the two. It was actually really surreal. The first drop got completed, I think, a few days before the lift hill did, and it looks absolutely huge. Like literally, it was honestly gigantic. And the crest of the lift hill actually being built on the ground, sort of a few days prior. It's actually made up of 3 pieces weighing a total of 14 tons. They were assembling it on the ground, and when it came to that, for that track piece to be the only one left, they lifted that into place on the 6th of March this week, 2024. They had the flags on the crest of the lift hill for the Thorpe Park logo, the German flag because obviously Mack Rides are based in Germany, and the UK because it's a British theme park. And there were so many people gathering around Monk's Walk, waiting for this historic moment. It was honestly, the atmosphere apparently was amazing. I wish I could have been there really. But it was such a historic occasion, and Hyperia is now officially the tallest roller coaster in the UK. So hopefully it shouldn't be long before we see trains on site at Thorpe Park. In other news today, Drayton Manor have officially revealed the brand new name for Shockwave for 2024. And it's just so strange seeing Shockwave with not only the new name but also brand new trains as well. But if you know what I'm talking about, basically Shockwave is an Intamin, it was an Intamin stand-up coaster located at Drayton Manor in Staffordshire, England. It originally opened in 1994. Obviously, it was one of the 3 main large-scale coasters to open in 1994 in the UK, with the other 2 being Nemesis, Alton Towers, and the big one at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, or Pleasure Beach Resort as it's now known. Obviously, originally it was opened Shockwave. It ran as just a regular Intamin stand-up coaster all the way up until last year. And up until that point, it was the only Intamin stand-up coaster left in operation, and it was the only stand-up coaster left operating in Europe. However, at the end of last year, Drayton Manor announced plans to convert the ride's trains from stand-up to sit-down, and obviously giving it lap bars, lowering the height restriction so that younger people can ride it, so that Drayton Manor is aiming to be more of a family theme park. But obviously also they're going to give the ride a new name and a new theme as well to coincide with the sort of new era for this ride. So obviously they gave final rides on the 5th of November 2023, and obviously that was the last time that it will ever operate as a stand-up coaster. So obviously recently, the brand new sit-down trains were actually spotted for the ride, and obviously it was confirming like sort of the colour schemes of rides. Going to have like yellow trains with lap bars as well. These aren't. I don't think these trains are actually made by Intamin. They're made by Art Engineering, which is very interesting to see. And so obviously, I think at the start of this week or last week, they dropped a new teaser video for the new name for Shockwave, and that sort of hinted at like they're going to make a major announcement soon. They made the official announcement like earlier this week that Shockwave was going to be renamed to simply The Wave. And at first I thought like is that it? Is that it for a name, just for a brand new name for Shockwave? The Wave. Obviously the ride's brand new theme is going to be themed like surfing, so I guess the name Wave sort of makes sense. I think they could have gone with a better name, but it's a decent name. Let me know what you think in the comments of Shockwave's new name. But either way, I cannot wait for it to reopen with its new trains later this year. Also in the news today, Pleasure Beach Resort has reopened for the 2024 season. And it's that time of year again with theme parks starting to reopen. Usually a lot of theme parks in the UK open in mid-March, however Pleasure Beach Resort usually decide to open very early. If you don't know what I'm talking about, basically Pleasure Beach Resort, obviously formerly known as Blackpool Pleasure Beach, is an amusement park located in Blackpool, England. It is home to some of the most iconic roller coasters in the UK, including the likes of the Big One, Icon, Grand National, Nickelodeon Streak, Big Dipper, Infusion. So many different rides and attractions. It is honestly one of the highlight amusement parks in the country. And obviously this season, it just seems a bit weirder this season. Like obviously the opening day for Pleasure Beach this season apparently was not great. Obviously the weather was not good, but obviously the weather can't be controlled. But other stuff happened, such as obviously so many rides, and I mean apparently so many rides were breaking down. There were so many different ride closures, things like that. It didn't help that there are now 2 rides at Pleasure Beach Resort that are just unavailable for the time being. One's closed permanently with Grand Prix, which is obviously the little car ride. Grand Prix is closed for all season because Amanda Thompson confirmed on Twitter that it's going to be replaced with a brand new attraction. They haven't said what yet, but we'll find out later on. And obviously Ice Blast is closed. There's been rumours of it being demolished, but obviously Amanda Thompson confirmed in the same post about Grand Prix that it's going to reopen later this year. We're just waiting for new parts to repair it. But obviously those rides, we know Ice Blast is going to reopen later this year. Grand Prix is basically closed forever. A lot of the other rides just kept breaking down. I think the day after opening, Big One was closed all day. It was just testing empty trains. So it wasn't the best opening day for Pleasure Beach. But obviously another thing that makes this interesting is that this is actually their first season under a new name. They changed from Blackpool Pleasure Beach to Pleasure Beach Resort. Now I don't see what the purpose of this change was, especially considering that they're really not even a resort. They're a seaside amusement park. They've got 2 hotels, but that's it. That's probably the only way they can get away with qualifying as a resort. But either way, this could be. I don't think this will be a sign of what their expansion plans are to make it like a proper resort, because obviously they're not a huge park at all. They're actually quite small. Those 2 hotels they have, the Big Blue Hotel and the Boulevard Hotel, literally crammed into tiny spaces, literally right next door to the actual amusement park itself. Literally they have rooms in the Big Blue Hotel overlooking the Big One and Icon and Big Dipper and things like that. But either way, I'm thinking it could be a really good season for Pleasure Beach Resort, and I can't wait to see what happens later this year. And finally in the news today, the first track pieces for Flash Vertical Velocity have arrived at Six Flags Great Adventure. And this is actually a really amazing milestone for Six Flags Great Adventure, because obviously it's the construction of their brand new roller coaster, which is supposed to be opening later this year. But if you know what I'm talking about, basically Flash Vertical Velocity is a brand new roller coaster opening at Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey in 2024. It is a new generation Vekoma Super Boomerang. So it's like a new upgraded version of their previous boomerang layouts, but it's a much more modern take on the attraction. It's obviously a swing launch coaster. It's got a very different layout to the original Boomerang. Instead of going backwards up a chain lift, it actually launches you backwards and forwards through the station. And obviously it launches you through, I think about 4 launches throughout the entire, it has multiple launches throughout the entire lap, not just the one launch in the station, there's also a couple of launches throughout the rest of the track layout itself. All kinds of weird and wacky elements, and it looks like a really fun ride. So far, the first ever Super Boomerang to open was in China last year, and obviously that looks really fun, that ride. And obviously later last year, Six Flags Great Adventure would officially announce a brand new roller coaster opening at Six Flags, obviously in 2024, called Flash Vertical Velocity, which is going to be one of these Super Boomerangs roller coasters. And obviously it looks really amazing because obviously this is the first one being built in North America. And obviously up until I think later this year they don't have any Vekoma family boomerangs. They only have like the traditional Vekoma boomerang coasters of the old style attractions. So this would be like the first proper big like boomerang coaster they've gotten in a while. And obviously recently, the first ever track pieces for the attraction have actually arrived on site. I think it's only like a couple of track pieces, but like it's still a good sign that vertical construction can potentially start soon. When it will open later this year, I have no idea. Six Flags seem to just like leave it till very late to start building these new roller coasters, which means that they end up getting delayed till the next season. But we'll have to wait and see, and either way I cannot wait for Flash Vertical Velocity to open at Six Flags Great Adventure. So that is it for this week's episode of Coast News. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, then please make sure to like and subscribe, and comment what you'd like to see in the next video. Goodbye.